Little fingers twisted the hem of her blanket. "Mommy said you won't wake up if you take that tea." Iris froze. She felt the words hit her chest like a stone dropped into water. Heavy, sudden, and impossible to ignore. She didn't react right away. She kept her voice steady, gentle, the way you speak to a child when you don't want to scare them. "Oh, what do you mean, love?" Lila looked confused. She said it when she was on the phone. "I heard her," she said. "If she keeps drinking it, she won't wake up soon." And then she laughed. Iris smiled weakly and brushed Lila's hair away from her face. "Thank you for telling me, darling. That's our little secret, okay?" Lila nodded, already drifting off to sleep. Iris stood up slowly, her knees trembling beneath her. She walked out of the room and closed the door gently behind her. Then she walked down the hallway and sat on the edge of her bed. Her heart was pounding. She tried to tell herself it was nothing. Maybe Betrayal was joking. Maybe Lila misunderstood. Kids often did, right? But something deep inside her, something maternal, something that had been around long before Betrayal even joined the family, told her to listen. Not to brush it off. Not this time. She glanced toward the small table where the tea tray still sat. The cup was still full. She stood up and walked to the plant on her dresser. It was a leafy peace lily. She poured the tea into the soil carefully. Then she sat back down and waited. The next morning, the leaves were turning yellow. It hadn't even been 12 hours. Iris stared at the plant for a long time. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured herself a fresh cup of black coffee, something she hadn't done in weeks. Betrayal would notice. She always brought up the tea and smiled that tight little smile when Iris drank it. But Iris was done pretending everything was okay. That afternoon, she told Caleb she was going for a walk. Instead, she went to an electronics store downtown. It was a small place, owned by an older gentleman with kind eyes. She explained she was looking for a small camera. Something simple. Something she could plug in and hide on her nightstand. He helped her find exactly what she needed. A small clock with a camera hidden inside. Motion detection. Night vision. Easy to use. She paid in cash. When she returned home, Betrayal was in the kitchen preparing dinner. "Oh, there you are," Betrayal said without looking up. "I was just about to bring you your tea." Iris smiled. "Thank you, dear. I'll have it upstairs after dinner." She took her plate to her room. Later that night, when Betrayal brought in the tea, Iris was in the bathroom, brushing her hair. She had left the camera recording. She didn't sleep much that night. She just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft breaths of the house, the creaks in the walls, the occasional hum of Caleb's laptop downstairs. She looked at the tea on her table. Then she looked at the camera. What if Lila was right? The thought made her chest tighten. Iris wasn't ready to die. She wasn't ready to be forgotten. And most of all, she wasn't ready to let someone else decide when her time was up. Not without a fight. She closed her eyes and waited for morning. Iris woke up the next morning with the sun softly brushing her face through the curtain. She didn't sleep much the night before, but her mind had never felt sharper. The fear that had crept in last night had settled into something calmer now. Something heavier, steadier. Resolve. She turned her head slightly on the pillow and looked at the small plant on her dresser. The once vibrant green leaves had turned an ugly yellow. A few were starting to brown at the edges. It had only been one night. Iris slowly sat up in bed and stared at the teacup still sitting untouched on her nightstand. She didn't need science. She didn't need proof. That plant had told her more than any doctor could. Something was in the tea. And now, she had to find out what Betrayal was really doing when she wasn't looking. She stood and walked to the clock she had bought from the store yesterday. It looked ordinary, black casing, small digital numbers glowing faintly. But inside, a tiny lens blinked red as it recorded. She opened the memory card slot, took out the tiny SD card, and slipped it into her laptop. Her hands trembled slightly. Not from fear, just from the weight of what she might see. She skipped through the footage until she reached the timestamp from last night, 9:17 p.m. There it was. The bathroom door clicked shut. Moments later, the bedroom door opened quietly, and Betrayal walked in holding the tea tray. Iris leaned closer to the screen, her stomach tightening. Betrayal walked straight to the nightstand, set down the tray, and pulled something small and dark from her pocket. A brown glass bottle. She opened it carefully, checked the bedroom door like she was afraid someone might walk in, then poured a few drops into the teacup. Slowly, carefully, like she'd done it before. She took a napkin and wiped the rim of the cup. smoothed it with her hand, adjusted the saucer. Then she looked around the room again, placed the bottle back into her pocket, and left as quietly as she came. Iris paused the video. Her heart was beating so hard it hurt. It wasn't just in her head. It wasn't just age. Betrayal was drugging her. She sat back slowly, hands covering her mouth. A chill ran through her entire body. For a few long seconds, she forgot to breathe. This was the woman who made her dinner. The woman who kissed her daughter goodnight. The woman who called her mom when Caleb was around. And she wanted her dead. Iris reached for a pen and wrote one word in her notebook. Why? She stared at the word for a while. She needed to understand it. People didn't just poison others for fun. There was always a reason. A motive. She flipped to another page and started writing possibilities. Money? House? Insurance? Jealousy? Mental illness? Then she drew a small circle and wrote Lila's name inside it. A child had no part in this, but she was in the middle of it all. Whatever Iris did next, she had to make sure Lila was safe. That afternoon, Iris acted completely normal. She read books in the living room, played word puzzles, took a short nap in the garden chair while Lila colored beside her. When Betrayal brought her tea later that evening, Iris smiled. Thank you, sweetheart. You always take such good care of me. Betrayal smiled back. That same tight, controlled smile. The one that never touched her eyes. Iris didn't drink the tea. After dinner, when Betrayal and Caleb were arguing in the kitchen about something Iris couldn't make out, she poured the tea into the soil of another potted plant on the hallway table. By morning, that plant had wilted too. It was no coincidence. 2 days later, Iris had all the footage she needed. The same actions. The same bottle. The same process. Every single time. Each time, Betrayal made sure Iris was in the bathroom or distracted. Each time, she spiked the tea without hesitation. That's when Iris called Mr. Lawson, her longtime attorney, who had helped with her late husband's will. They met in private at his office. She explained everything. Showed him the videos. Gave him a USB drive with all the footage plus a backup. His reaction was quiet. Serious. Iris, this isn't just a family issue. This is criminal. I know, she said. But I don't want to go to the police. Not yet. He looked at her carefully. Why? She took a deep breath. Because Lila's only 6. I don't want her growing up visiting her mother in prison, thinking her grandma put her there. Mr. Lawson nodded slowly. So, what do you want to do? Iris looked him in the eye. I want control over my life back. I want Caleb to know the truth. And I want Betrayal gone. Permanently. No contact. No more games. He drew up the legal papers. We'll update property rights lock-in, account protections, and a private restraining order in process, just in case. That night, Iris stayed up late. Not from fear this time, but from planning. She watched the clock tick closer to midnight. Her tea sat untouched again. She thought about all the small things she had ignored before. The sharp tone Betrayal used when Caleb wasn't around. The way her prescriptions ran out too fast. The locked drawer in the kitchen Betrayal never let anyone near. The offhand comments about getting the house one day. She remembered, painfully, the warmth she had once felt toward Betrayal. How excited she was when Caleb had proposed. How she helped sew the veil for her wedding dress. How she made them both matching holiday sweaters their first Christmas together. All of it felt like a lie now. Betrayal didn't want a family. She wanted freedom. And Iris was just in the way. The next morning, she made a decision. It was time to show Caleb the truth. She didn't blame him. Not yet. He was too distracted, too trusting. He didn't know what was happening under his own roof. And that terrified her even more. How easily evil can hide behind routine. She waited until Betrayal left to take Lila to school. Then she knocked on Caleb's office door. Can we talk? He looked up from his computer, clearly stressed. Can it wait, Mom? I've got back-to-back meetings. She placed a small flash drive on his desk. Please. Just 5 minutes. It's important. His brow furrowed. He sighed. But he inserted the drive. She told him which video to open. Then she stood silently as her son watched the screen. At first, he looked confused. Then horrified. Is that what I think it is? Iris didn't answer. He clicked through more clips. His hands started to shake. What the hell is she doing to your tea? Iris spoke slowly. I believe she's drugging it. I think maybe hoping I'd get sick. Or worse. Caleb was silent for a long moment. Then he buried his face in his hands. Jesus Christ. I didn't know. I swear to God, Mom. I didn't know. She touched his shoulder. I know. That's why I'm showing you now. He looked up, tears in his eyes. What do we do? Iris spoke clearly. We confront her. But I need to know you're with me. That you believe me. Caleb didn't hesitate this time. I'm with you. I'll protect you. I promise. Later that evening, Brielle came home, humming. She walked into the kitchen and paused when she saw both Iris and Caleb sitting at the table. Oh, what's this? An intervention? She said with a smirk. Caleb gestured to the laptop on the table. Sit down. Watch this first. She rolled her eyes, annoyed. But as the footage played, her face changed. Smirk vanished. Eyes narrowed. When the video ended, she said nothing. Just leaned back and crossed her arms. So, what do you want from me? An apology. Caleb looked sick. You were poisoning my mother. Don't be dramatic, she scoffed. It wasn't poison. It was just a little something to make her sleep more. She's always up and walking around. We needed rest. Brielle, Caleb's voice cracked. What? She snapped. You think she wasn't going to die eventually? She already gave us the house. You act like I stabbed her or something. Iris stood slowly. You didn't stab me, Brielle. But you wanted me gone. And that's enough. Brielle scoffed and looked at Caleb. You're seriously taking her side? He didn't say a word. He just pointed to the door. The silence after Brielle stormed out of the kitchen was thick, like fog. Caleb didn't speak. He sat with his head in his hands, breathing heavily. Iris stood nearby, not touching him, not rushing him. She knew her son needed time. She could see it in his face. He was crushed, confused, ashamed. He finally looked up at her. Mom, I don't even know who I married. Iris sat down next to him. She gently placed her hand on his arm, not to comfort him, but just to let him know she was still here. Still alive. You married the woman you loved. And you believed in her. That doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human. He looked like he wanted to cry, but wouldn't let himself. How long has this been happening? Iris took a breath. I started noticing the tea a few weeks ago. At first, I thought it was just old age. Drowsiness. Confusion. But then Lila said something. Caleb's eyes widened. Lila? What did she say? She told me. Mommy said you won't wake up if you drink that tea. Caleb leaned back and stared at the ceiling. Oh my God. Iris continued, calm but steady. I didn't want to believe it either. But I trusted Lila. So I tested the tea on my plants. They started dying. Then I bought the camera. Caleb rubbed his face. I should have seen it. Something should have clicked. I've been so focused on work and she kept you distracted, Iris finished. They sat in silence again. This wasn't a dramatic moment with screaming or shouting. It was quiet, heavy, real. Then Caleb said, What do you want to do, Mom? Should we go to the police? Iris shook her head slowly. I'm not ready for that. I don't want Lila involved. She's too young. And I don't want her visiting her mom behind glass. Not yet. Caleb nodded slowly, understanding. Then what? I want her out. For good. That night, Iris didn't sleep. She sat in bed with the lamp on, staring at the picture on her nightstand. It was a photo of her, Caleb, and Lila on Lila's 3rd birthday. Brielle wasn't in it. She had been too tired to come to the park that day. Looking at the picture now, Iris saw it differently. She wondered if Brielle had been planning things even then. If she had already decided Iris was a burden, a threat, an obstacle to comfort, money, or freedom. She thought about all the things she had done for this family. Cooking, cleaning, helping with bills, caring for Lila every day while Brielle rested or ran errands. And yet, she was seen as disposable. I gave them everything, she whispered into the empty room. And she wanted me gone. She didn't cry. She was past tears now. She was done being quiet. The next morning, the house felt different. Tense. Uneasy. Brielle acted like nothing had happened. She poured herself coffee, scrolled on her phone, and hummed in the kitchen. She didn't say a word to Caleb or Iris. When Lila came down for breakfast, Iris smiled and gave her toast with jelly. Thank you, Grandma, Lila said with a giggle. Iris kissed the top of her head and tried not to think about how close she had come to not being there. Caleb didn't touch his food. He watched Brielle silently, as if seeing her for the first time. Finally, after Lila had gone to school, Caleb stood up. We need to talk. Brielle raised an eyebrow. About what? He pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. This is from my mom's lawyer. She's updated her will, changed the house deed, locked her accounts. and filed for a restraining order. Betrayal froze. "Are you serious?" "You tried to drug my mother," he said, voice low and firm. "Don't act shocked." Betrayal laughed bitterly. "She's manipulating you. You're really going to throw away our marriage for her. You almost ended her life." "Oh please," Betrayal scoffed. "She was always tired and forgetful anyway. I just gave her something to relax." "What? Now it's attempted murder." Caleb didn't respond. He just looked at her with tired, broken eyes. "You need to leave," he said. She crossed her arms. "And go where?" "That's not my problem anymore." Brielle's face twisted into something sharp, ugly. "Fine. But you'll regret this. Both of you." Then she walked upstairs to pack. Iris waited in her room as she heard Brielle's footsteps above, moving back and forth. She expected yelling, maybe threats, maybe even tears. But it was quiet. 15 minutes later, Brielle walked past her doorway with a suitcase in hand. She paused for a second. Iris looked up, expecting a final word. An apology. Something. But Brielle just gave a smirk and said, "You're tougher than you look." Then she left. The front door shut behind her. Just like that, she was gone. That night, the house was calm for the first time in months. Iris sat by the fireplace while Caleb cleaned up after dinner. The warmth of the flames felt different now, less like survival, more like peace. Lila climbed into her lap with a picture book. "Grandma, is Mommy coming home?" Iris kissed her forehead gently. "Not for a while, sweetheart." Lila nodded. "That's okay. I like it when you tuck me in." Iris smiled. "Me too." The days that followed were quiet, but not empty. Caleb took time off work. He cooked more. Talked more. He sat with Iris in the evenings and played board games with Lila. They didn't talk about Brielle often. When they did, it was brief. Sad, but never bitter. Iris made sure of that. One morning, Caleb brought her coffee instead of tea. "I don't think I'll ever let anyone else make you tea again," he said with a smile. Iris laughed. A real full laugh. The first in a long time. "Good. Let's stick with coffee for now." Iris updated her journal every night. She wrote about trust, betrayal, and survival. She wrote about how danger doesn't always come with knives and shouting. It can come in silence. In routines. In someone pouring your tea every night with a smile. She didn't know if Brielle would come back someday. She doubted it. But even if she did, Iris was ready now. She was no longer the quiet, helpful woman hoping to stay out of the way. She had found her voice. And no one would take it away from her again. It had been 2 weeks since Brielle left. The house was quiet now, but not in a sad way. It was peaceful. The kind of quiet that felt like safety, like finally being able to breathe after holding it in for too long. Iris sat by the window with her journal open, her glasses perched on the edge of her nose. She hadn't written about that night yet. The night Brielle walked out with her suitcase and never looked back. Somehow, she didn't know how to put it into words. What do you even write about the moment someone who wanted you dead just leaves? She tapped her pen against the paper, then began slowly. "I didn't drink the tea, but I did taste the truth. And it was bitter. But I'm still here. And she's gone." Downstairs, Caleb was folding laundry. Lila was drawing with crayons at the kitchen table. Life had started to feel normal again. Every morning, Iris and Caleb would have coffee together. No tea anymore, ever. They laughed about it sometimes, but underneath the jokes was a shared understanding. Some routines had to die so you could survive. Iris hadn't told anyone outside the family what happened, not even her closest friends. She didn't want pity. She didn't want the story to become gossip. She just wanted to move forward. But one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived in the mailbox. It was addressed to Iris. The handwriting was familiar. It was from Brielle. Iris's hands trembled slightly as she opened it. She sat at the dining table, unfolded the page, and read. "I'm not writing to apologize. I know you'll never forgive me. Maybe you shouldn't. But I want you to know I never hated you. I just wanted a different life. One with space, money, peace. I thought you were in the way. I was wrong. Tell Lila I love her. I'm not coming back." There was no signature. No return address. Just those words. Iris read the letter twice. Then she folded it neatly, walked over to the fireplace, and dropped it in. She watched it burn until there was nothing left but ash. She didn't need a final word from Brielle. She had her own. That evening, Iris sat beside Lila while she colored a picture of their house. "Grandma," Lila said suddenly, "do you miss Mommy?" Iris looked at her carefully. Lila wasn't sad, just curious. She was too young to understand betrayal. All she knew was that Mommy wasn't home anymore, and everything felt calmer now. Iris thought for a moment, then answered gently. I think I missed the version of her I thought I knew. But I'm really happy I still have you. Lila smiled and handed her the drawing. That's you, she said, pointing to a stick figure with a big smile. And that's me. And Daddy. No tea, she added seriously. Only juice and pancakes. Iris laughed, heart full. That sounds perfect to me. The next morning, Iris took a walk by herself. It was sunny, but there was a light breeze. The kind that reminded her of spring mornings in her old cottage. Before Richard passed, before she gave up her independence to move in with Caleb and Brielle, before everything became complicated. She walked past the park, watched a mother push her baby on the swings, and smiled. Life moved on no matter what. People healed. People changed. She sat on a bench near the flowers and looked up at the sky. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel like a burden. She didn't feel like she had to tiptoe around someone else's emotions or watch her back when drinking tea. She felt like herself. That weekend, Iris and Caleb went to a local lawyer's office together. They signed documents confirming Iris's full ownership of the house. She added Caleb and Lila to her will, leaving a portion of her savings for Lila's education. Caleb squeezed her hand as they walked out. Thank you, Mom. For everything. She nodded. Thank you for finally seeing it. There was no anger in her voice. No judgment. Just honesty. Later that night, after Lila had gone to bed, Iris sat with Caleb in the living room. The TV was on, but neither of them was watching. Do you ever think she'll come back? Caleb asked. Iris shook her head. Not for us. Maybe for Lila someday, when she's older. But I don't think she wants this life anymore. Caleb looked down. I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner. Iris turned to him, her eyes soft. I'm not mad at you, Caleb. I was scared, yes. But I never stopped believing in you. He smiled faintly. You were always stronger than I gave you credit for. She chuckled. That's the problem. I made it look too easy. The next day, Iris began painting again. It was something she hadn't done since her husband passed. Her brushes were still packed away in a box at the back of the closet, untouched for years. She opened the box, cleaned the dust off the canvas, and started with soft colors, light blue, pale yellow, soft green. Her hands were steady, her strokes slow, thoughtful. She painted a garden, a chair near the flowers, and a teacup on a table, untouched. In the distance, a small child running barefoot, laughing. She named the painting. Peace returned. Weeks turned to months. Seasons changed. Caleb moved to a new company, working fewer hours. He took Lila to school each morning and spent his evenings helping with homework. He smiled more. He thanked Iris every chance he got. And Lila thrived. She became happier, more playful. She stopped asking when Mommy was coming home. She started making new memories with her grandma. Pancake mornings, library trips, movie nights with popcorn and juice boxes. The shadow that Brielle had cast over the house began to fade. Iris still kept the hidden camera, stored safely in her desk drawer. Not because she lived in fear, but as a reminder that her instincts mattered, that her life mattered, that she wasn't weak. One quiet evening, months later, Lila came into Iris's room with a piece of paper. I made something for you, she said shyly. Iris unfolded it. It was a drawing of two stick figures holding hands. One had gray hair and a smile. The other was smaller, with a bow in her hair. Above them were 3 words in big, shaky letters. You saved me. Iris blinked, heart full. Lila, why did you write that? Lila shrugged. Because you always take care of me. Like when Mommy was acting weird. Iris hugged her tightly. No words. Just love. That night, Iris wrote the final words in her journal. I left the tea untouched. But not the truth. The truth saved me. And now it's saving them too. She closed the book and placed it on the shelf beside the painting. Outside, the wind was soft. And inside, everything was finally still.